Hey there, and welcome to Trotting Through Life, the feel-good journey through wellness reimagined. I'm your host, Alicia Trotter, holistic health coach, retreat leader, and lover of all things simple, soulful, and sustainable. Each week, I'm here to share mindset shifts, wellness hacks, and down-to-earth tips to help you feel better in your body, your mind, and your life without all the overwhelm. Because wellness doesn't have to be complicated. Hello, and welcome back to Trotting Through Life. Today, I want to talk to a specific audience. Whether you're a mama of a daughter this age, or if you are listening in and you are this age, I specifically want to talk to teenage girls and beautiful young ladies in their 20s. I have daughters these ages, which is why this topic is near and dear to my heart. Just by raising my own girls and then watching so many of their friends walk a different type of journey through the same season. What I want you to know first and foremost is insulin is your master hormone. So, whenever you become a coffee drinker and you drink coffee first thing in the morning and you don't eat breakfast, or maybe you don't drink coffee, but you drink an energy drink, Alani, Celsius, because you think those are healthy. Even if you're not drinking Alani or Celsius, you're drinking Monster, Red Bull, any of those. It doesn't matter. It's the caffeine that you are letting be the first thing to go in your body after you have been asleep and in a fasted state. One every now and then, it's not going to totally wreak havoc, but when it becomes a daily habit, what you're doing is you are causing insulin resistance. Okay, so insulin's your master hormone. So that is a habit that you could change. Number one, the energy drinks. I'll just let you do your own research. Celsius and Alani are not healthy. And definitely all the other ones are not healthy. There are healthy alternatives out there. Plexus, which is a company that I partnered with 9 years ago, makes an energy drink called Active. All clean ingredients. That is what my girls drink. It has 3 different flavors. It is something you do have to order through someone who is an ambassador. It's a much better choice. All of their products target the gut microbiome and insulin balance and inflammation. So, the reason I want to talk about this topic is because when you start off so young, getting your insulin dysregulated, what's going to happen is your hormones are going to become dysregulated. We already live in a very toxic world where it's almost impossible to get away from hormone mimickers and endocrine disruptors. So, don't want to stress you out by making you think you have to change everything that you're doing. But I do want to bring some awareness and shed some light on the fact that when you are constantly seeking caffeine because you're so exhausted, there's a root problem. You're either A, not getting enough sleep, good quality sleep. You're staying up too late. You're looking at a blue screen before you go to bed, or maybe you're sleeping with it on all night long in the room. All of these things are easy things to tweak you've just formed some habits that need to be changed. So, 1 hour before bed, wear blue light blocker glasses if you're going to watch TV or look at your phone. The best thing would be to put your phone across the room from your bed on the charger, read a book, and let your circadian rhythm naturally slow down so you'll go to sleep. So you'll sleep without that disruption. And it may take you like a week or two to train into this new habit. The room needs to be completely dark and not a lot of chaotic things to like keep your monkey mind running while you're trying to go to sleep. Okay. If you're waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're awake for hours on end and then you finally fall asleep by the time the alarm goes off, your cortisol's too high and that means you're stressed out. But when your insulin is off balance, your cortisol will also be off balance. And you can have insulin resistance and not be diabetic. Let's just make that clear as well. So, here are things to know if your hormones are out of whack. You have acne, no matter what, like right on your face, like your cheeks. No matter how much you clean or use good products, you have acne. You wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, can't go back to sleep. You are not hungry when you wake up. You have really heavy periods and irregular periods, meaning maybe you short cycle and you have 2 periods in a 30-day cycle, not normal. Or maybe you skip, like you'll have one month, you don't have one for 2 months, then you have another one. The doctors will want to put you on birth control and will say that's going to cure your acne, that's going to regulate your periods. While that might be the case, there are so many negative side effects to oral contraceptives. You're giving your body fake hormones. Sometimes people even will get on some kind of birth control that makes them not have a cycle at all. That is not how we were created. So when you do things like that, you're just setting yourself up for a lot of issues later in life when you do decide to come off of the birth control. So here are some things that you can do. We're going to avoid the caffeine first thing in the morning. What we're going to do is we're going to get up and we're going to drink a glass of water. And then maybe even you want to squeeze some lemon in the water. And then you are going to eat high protein and fiber with your coffee. I would prefer you not drink the energy drinks, but if you have to, give me a shout. I'll hook you up with some active, which is clean energy drinks. And then I want you to actually eat. Don't be a snacker all day long. Don't be someone that like eats a bag of chips and then eats candy bar and then, might eat a sandwich for lunch. And so these snacking things, what it does is that continues the ping pong effect of your blood sugar all day long. Instead, you want to eat like 30 grams of protein at each meal, and that should get you until the next meal. Now, I'm going to cover in a different episode about ways to eat for your cycle because as a female, our needs and demands change every single week. We are a different person from one week to the next, to the next, to the next. We have 4 phases of our cycle. We have the menstruation phase, we have the luteal phase, we have the ovulation phase, we have the follicular phase, and they all have different demands on our body as far as caloric needs, workouts that you should and shouldn't be doing, and lots of other things. I will cover this in another episode. But for now, I want to talk about the effects of getting insulin resistant. So if you have that for a long time because you're a snacker, you drink caffeine, you work out fasted, you don't sleep, like all these things are so detrimental for your overall health. And you might not feel like it is right now, but it will compile, and over the years it will turn into something like PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, which they are now relating to like a type of diabetes. It's because of insulin resistance. I had a client one time and she was diagnosed with PCOS, could not get pregnant, and did not know what to do, was seeing the doctor, doing all the things. And it was so simple as that she just needed to regulate her insulin. So again, Plexus has a pink drink and it was developed for type 2 diabetics. So it is great at getting your insulin levels level and steady. And the longer you're drinking it daily, the better it is. So it's not just good for your gut health, but also for your insulin. And so we reversed her PCOS by her drinking the pink drink every day and also being aware of added sugars in her food that she started to eliminate. And then she started to eat a lower inflammatory diet. But we reversed her PCOS and then she was able to get pregnant. And it really wasn't crazy complicated. Um, I mentioned earlier like endocrine disruptors. So, plastics. This is a big one. Drinking bottled water out of a plastic water bottle. It can be an endocrine disruptor. What I would recommend is, Stanley was a big thing, and then the Awala, and then the Hydro Flask. Those type of water bottles just get you a good filtered water system, whether you want to go big and do a Berkey water filter, whether you have a whole house water filter system, reverse osmosis. You could even just do like a Brita pitcher, but try to get your water to be filtered through something that is like stainless steel instead of plastic. And then refill your reusable water bottles and try to cut back on drinking out of the plastic water bottles. That's one way. Another way is storing your food. Try to store your food in glass containers, and especially when you're heating your food up, do not heat your food up in plastic containers in the microwave. Another one that you probably have never heard of is dryer sheets. Dryer sheets can mimic estrogen. They have the forever chemicals in them. And a better swap would be to get the wool dryer balls, and you can scent them with essential oils and just toss them in with your laundry in the dryer and eliminate those dryer sheets. I'll tell you what, you could use those dryer sheets, what they're good for if you have some laying around. Spiders hate them, so they will keep the spiders away. You can put them along your window sills or underneath your mattress where your box spring and mattress are. My mother-in-law used to, they had a houseboat, and so people wouldn't be on there, every single day. And so she would stuff the dryer sheets along the edges of the beds so that it would keep the spiders away. So there's you a little tip. Another thing that you could do, we've talked about the plastics and eliminating those, the dryer sheets, your cosmetics. I know you don't want to hear that. If you're like my girls, you love all the trendy things on TikTok, but really you need to take a deep dive into clean cosmetic ingredients, especially perfumes. Because if you think about it, you're taking that perfume and doing a big spray right on your neck, which right in your neck is this beautiful butterfly gland called your thyroid. And that is also a hormone regulator. So we don't want to be putting chemical scented smells right on our thyroid. And you could do some simple swaps here. You could read ingredients. Dime Beauty, Dime, is a clean beauty line. Again, I still wouldn't spray it directly on my neck with my thyroid. Just maybe just do it on your clothes or on your wrist. And also your personal monthly products such as tampons, pads, panty liners, you really want to look for the clean brands that are organic. Lola, Cora are a few brands because it matters. It really does matter. That tissue down there is so thin and so highly absorbent that when you're just using these tampons and pads with all these chemicals in them and they've been soaked in bleach, you're not doing yourself any favors. Um, Another thing too is do a deep dive. I just encourage you to get curious about this and don't just take my word for it. I encourage you to get on your device and start doing a deep dive about forever chemicals. I know that Lululemon is a big one that has forever chemicals in the crotch of their leggings. Again, very thin, very sensitive tissue there, especially if you're wearing those with no underwear. So these are things that you may be thinking and eye rolling right now, but I promise you, if you get curious, do a deep dive, do the research for yourself, and make some changes, you're going to be so glad you did. It can really help with your cycle not being heavy. Your cycle needs to be 28 to 30 days apart. That's normal. And so, some things you could do if you feel like your hormones are out of balance is you could just go to your primary care doctor and have a blood workup panel done, but you're going to have to ask them to check some extra things that might not just be listed on the panel. Vitamin D3. It is actually a hormone. It also is has a lot to do with your immune system, your energy, and hormone balance. So it's a very important marker that you want to look at. And the range for normal D on the panel will be like 30 to 90, which is a huge range. But for optimum D levels, most functional practitioners will say it needs to be between 80 and 90. So if you're really low on your vitamin D, and you are out in the sun all the time and you think, well, I don't know why it's so low, you might have a gene that does not let you convert the D2 from the sun into D3. I have that gene. So I do have to supplement. And you have to be careful when you're supplementing with vitamin D3. You do not want just a standalone vitamin D3 because what happens is that D3 will deposit calcification in your arteries. So you want it to be paired with a K2. That's what keeps your arteries safe. Also, it needs to be paired with a MCT oil because it is a fat soluble vitamin, and magnesium, which helps you absorb it better. So I will link in the show notes the exact one that I take that raised my D3 levels from 44 to 78 in a 6-month period. It's one little capsule you take once a day and take it in the morning because the D3 simulates sunshine to your body and you don't want to take it at night. Another thing you might want to check is your B12. If you have been known to have low B12, which is also helps with your energy, and you get B12 shots and you're still low, I would gander to say you might have a gene called MTHFR, and it doesn't allow you to properly absorb certain vitamins unless they are methylated. So the best thing to do without going out and paying for genetic testing is just assume that you have it and make sure if you're taking a B vitamin or any kind of multivitamin at all, that it is methylated. That way, you're not building up toxins inside because you can't use this vitamin and you're actually absorbing it. And then, something on the topic of vitamins to consider if you are childbearing age or you're thinking about getting pregnant is the doctor will prescribe you a prenatal vitamin. That prenatal vitamin has folic acid in it, and they will scare you to death to think if you don't take folic acid that your baby will have birth defects. Folic acid is the man-made version of folate. So you want the natural version, which is folate, and you want it to be methylated so that you do not build up a toxicity in your body to that then you would pass on to your baby. And on the topic of childbearing, something else to consider before you ever even want to have a baby is that the mother's gut health is passed to the baby. So if you have poor gut health and then you have a baby that screams all the time and they're going to call it colicky, it's because that baby's digestive system is a mess and they were born like that because mama gave the baby their gut health. And I say that because that's what happened to me. I did not know anything like that when I was pregnant with my now 20-year-old. When she was born, we had to stay in the hospital for 5 days because she could not tolerate the formula, which my breast milk had not come in yet. And so she had to have formula and she would projectile spit up. So they ran all these tests on her to just come back and say, I guess she has immature gut. She was only born 9 days early. What it was, Mom, you gave your kid crappy gut health because I didn't know and I didn't have good gut health. And so we struggled with her constipation issues, bloated belly, tummy issues for so long, 10 years, until we found Plexus and got on good gut health supplements. So I would definitely encourage you to check out gut health and think about that. If you are someone who is thinking about getting pregnant, wanting to have a baby, I do have a sweet friend and she joined me in Plexus wanting to get the healthiest she could be so that whenever she had a baby, she was doing everything the right way. She cleared up all her acne. She got all her bloating gone, got rid of her sugar cravings, was going to the bathroom regularly and normal, was so healthy. And then she got pregnant and she had the best pregnancy, the best delivery, and she has the healthiest baby. And it's just been such a pleasure and a joy to watch her take ownership of her own health. Also, it did help her mental health. She had some mental health struggles from some traumatic things in her past, in her childhood. And it helped so much with that too. So she's been able to just fully walk into the role of motherhood and know that she created the healthiest version of herself for her baby so that together they are the healthiest versions of themselves. It was so beautiful to watch and I am so proud of her. And yeah, so many things with the hormones. You can also, when you go to have the blood work done, you can ask them to check estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone levels. Now, blood work is just a snapshot of right then. You really need to compare it to where you are in your cycle, what day of the month it is, to get a better estimate. If you're high or low, again, the ranges are pretty wide and it's hard to understand. So get with somebody that understands it pretty well. And then also you want to have a glucose panel. This is fasting, and it'll be fasting glucose, fasting insulin, and fasting A1C. So glucose is just right there that day, right then, the number. And insulin, which is rarely ever drawn, I've had it drawn one time ever because I had to ask for it. That will tell you a good number if you're insulin resistant. And then the A1C is like a 3-month estimate of how your blood sugar runs normally. If you have an A1C that is lower than 5.2, which is good, that's a good number, you do not need to fast longer than 12 hours. I would definitely not recommend doing fasted workouts. And so, to kind of summarize all this up, because that might have been overwhelming. Hey, friend. If you're loving the simple feel good wellness vibes here on Trotting Through Life, I've got something special for you. My cookbook for allergen friendly recipes is coming soon. It's packed with easy, delicious recipes that are gluten free, dairy free, and completely free of mammal meat and byproducts. Whether you're living with alpha gal or just looking to feel better through whole food cooking, this book is for you. It's full of nourishing meals that won't leave you missing a thing. Think comfort food, clean cravings, and time-saving tips, all made with your wellness in mind. Stay tuned to the show by subscribing and follow me on social media to find out when it's ready to buy. This tool will help you to start cooking with confidence again, because food should feel good, taste good, and it can be that simple. Definitely try to steer away from synthetic birth control, the oral birth control. If you're worried about getting pregnant and that's why you take it, there are so many apps out there today and devices that you can use that can track your cycle for you and tell you when you're ovulating and when you're not, so you can be safe. There's also other things to prevent getting pregnant other than the synthetic oral birth control. It's really not doing you any good for your hormone balance or your future. And the energy drinks, they need to go. Just any kind of supplementation that you're using, if you're doing pre-workout and creatine and broad chain amino acids and, whey protein drinks, all of this stuff, you are spending so much time focusing on drinking a powder and probably not eating the right kinds of food. I would just encourage you to go back to let your food be what fuels you first and foremost. Because a lot of these powders and things that you're putting in your body contain ingredients that are going to wreck your gut health. And maybe your acne that you're taking birth control for is really a gut problem because of the supplements that you're taking that have poor ingredients and not a reason to be on birth control. And so if you do come off of birth control, if you're on it, I would just encourage you to give it time for your cycle to regulate out, probably 90 days. And just get curious about what those different 4 phases of the month are. And I have a free resource I'll link in the show notes to give you a little insight into doing some seed cycling, which are like pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, things like that, that you can eat during certain weeks of the month to help with hormone balance. And Google gut health, educate yourself on it. And then clean up anywhere you can in your environment from those endocrine disruptors. And together, going forward, we can help the next generation to start off on a healthier note, to learn all of these healthier things so young, to change the future and their children's future. So, thanks for tuning in. I know it might have seemed overwhelming, but go back and give it another listen. Check out the show notes. Take notes if you want to. And remember, life is a journey, not a destination. And as long as you just put one foot in front of the other and start simple with one thing, get really good at that one thing, and then stack on another habit. Don't overwhelm yourself. This podcast is about making health and wellness be simple, not overwhelming. So when I talk on a topic and I say a whole lot of different things, don't let it overwhelm you. Just pick one thing. Do you want to stop drinking out of plastic water bottles? Start there. Do you want to change out all your Tupperware to glass? Start there. Do you want to stop drinking Alani's and Celsius? Start there. Do you want to start drinking water, lemon water, first thing every morning? Start there. There's so many places you can start. And just one change can make a difference. And then you just have a list of changes you want to make, and you just stack them together once you get really good at the one. So, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much for trotting along with me today. If you loved this episode, be sure to follow the show and leave a quick rating or review. It helps more people find their way to simple, feel-good wellness. I'll see you next Tuesday for another episode of Trotting Through Life. Until then, take a breath, take a step, and keep it uncomplicated.